Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're actually going to slow things down a bit. We're setting a deeply meditative tone because we are preparing to decode a profoundly dense, beautifully intricate piece of spiritual text. We're looking at an ancient invocation, an exact sequence of sounds and words literally designed to shift the human mind from a state of distress to a state of profound peace. So settle in, clear your mind, and let's unpack a truly powerful spiritual blueprint together.
Okay, let's dive right into this by asking a question that, let's be honest, every single one of us has grappled with at some point. How do we find relief from the heavy, daily suffering of the human experience? I mean, we all carry burdens, right? Whether it's anxiety, grief, stress, or just the overwhelming weight of navigating daily life, that heaviness is just a universal reality. What we're exploring today is an ancient answer to that exact question. It's a structured, linguistic journey designed to take the human spirit out of the darkness and, step by step, into the light.
And well, here is that answer in its complete form. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Haraye Paramatmane Pranata Kleshanashaya. Just take a moment to absorb this single, incredibly potent sentence. This isn't just a random collection of words. It's an architectural blueprint for spiritual relief. Every single syllable here has a very specific function. Sourced directly from ancient tradition, this sequence is a meticulously designed lock and key mechanism. In our explainer today, we're going to break this exact sentence apart, word by word, and perform a sort of anatomical deconstruction to understand exactly how it works to dismantle human suffering.
Part 1. The ultimate divine invocation.
So before any real relief can happen, a connection has to be established. You've got to open a line of communication. Let's start our micro-focus right here, at the very beginning of the mantra. Krishnaya. This is the spiritual invocation. It's the direct call to Lord Krishna. Think about the sheer weight of initiating contact with divine energy. You don't start a profound spiritual journey with a whisper into the void. You start by naming exactly what or who you are reaching out to. This first word grounds the entire practice. It's your anchor. By vibrating this specific name, you are aligning your own frequency with the divine energy you're seeking to connect with. Now, what's really interesting here is how the invocation doesn't just stop at one name. It immediately hits us with Vasudevaya. This is a vital extension of that divine name. It deeply roots the invocation. By layering this second title right on top of the first, it builds this compounding, almost cinematic spiritual power right at the beginning of the chant. It's as if the ancient authors knew that our wandering human minds needed to double down on focus to truly lock into that divine frequency before the real work of the mantra could even begin. Moving into part 2, decoding the Supreme Soul. So, we've established the connection, and now we're shifting upward. We're transitioning from the earthly, grounded act of initiating a chant and moving towards much higher, far more expansive concepts of divinity. This brings us to Haraye. This is where the actual utility of the mantra starts to reveal itself. Haraye invokes the specific aspect of the Lord that removes, or literally takes away, burdens. This right here is the mechanism of the mantra. You aren't just calling out to the divine to say hello. You're specifically calling upon the divine ability to lift heaviness from the human spirit. The word itself acts as a spiritual lever, kickstarting the process of untethering the weight you've been carrying around. And all that lifting action, it points us directly to this, Paramatmane, the Supreme Soul. Just let this concept sit with you for a second. Paramatmane represents the ultimate, highest divine connection we are aiming to achieve through this invocation. We aren't just tossing our burdens into the ether. We are passing them up to the absolute highest consciousness. This is the peak of that spiritual architecture we talked about earlier. It's the pure, untainted energy that exists entirely above human suffering. So, let's just trace the journey of the first half of this mantra. It's a very deliberate ascent. We started on the ground, initiating a call with Krishnaya and Vasudevaya. We activated the lifting mechanism with Haraya, and we directed that upward momentum straight to Paramatmane, the Supreme Soul. Spiritually speaking, we've basically just climbed a ladder out of the mundane world and established a direct, active link with pure divine energy. But the journey's not over yet. There's still a critical step required from us. Part 3, Surrender and Relief. We've got the divine side of the equation mapped out. Now we've got to shift focus to the active human requirement. What do we actually have to do to achieve this promised relief? Well, the answer is profound, and it requires action. Pranata, the mindful act of bowing down and offering complete surrender. So the crucial point here is that simply saying the names isn't enough.
The words alone are literally just sounds if they aren't backed by the physical and spiritual posture of surrender. You simply cannot hold on to your ego, your need for control, and your stubbornness, while simultaneously asking for your burdens to be lifted. Pranata is the ultimate act of letting go. It's the vulnerability that actually unlocks the divine relief we've been building towards.
This perfectly captures the entire philosophy of this practice. On one side, you have the agonizing heaviness of our daily struggles, the stress, the heartbreak, the endless responsibilities. But on the other side, you have the sudden, weightless liberation achieved when we finally bow down, when we embrace pranata and surrender to the Supreme Soul. It's a trade-off. You are trading your impossible burden for the relief of surrender. You're admitting that you cannot carry it all alone, and in that honest admission, you're finally set free. Which brings us to part 4, the destruction of afflictions. We're approaching the final climactic resolution of the mantra's spiritual narrative now. We've connected, we've reached upward, we've surrendered. Now we witness the result. But right before that final release, we need to ground ourselves one last time in the reality of the human condition. Klesha. This word defines exactly what it is we are trying to escape. It translates to the profound suffering, pain, and afflictions of earthly life. It's the dirt, the grit, the profound difficulty of just being human. And I love that the ancient texts don't sugarcoat this. They acknowledge that klesha is real, it's incredibly heavy, and it's often entirely overwhelming. Which brings us to the very last word, klesha nashaya, the destroyer of afflictions. And this brilliantly illustrates the ultimate power of the mantra. Notice it doesn't say your pain will be managed. It doesn't say your suffering will be temporarily paused. The root word is nishaya, destruction, complete eradication. This is the thematic climax where divine energy absolutely shatters human suffering. Because you connected and because you surrendered, the profound suffering, the klesha, is obliterated by the Supreme Soul. Let's just tie this whole anatomical deconstruction back together, because it really is a masterpiece of spiritual engineering. First, you invoke the divine to establish your anchor. Second, you connect that invocation upward to the highest energy, the Supreme Soul. Third, you offer your complete, humble surrender. And finally, through that surrender, you achieve the total destruction of your suffering. This single, incredibly dense sentence perfectly structures a reliable, repeatable path from absolute darkness straight into the light. We've unpacked the mechanics, the deep meaning, and the sheer power of this ancient text. But I want to leave you with this to ponder. If you truly surrender to the Supreme Soul today, if you genuinely practice that art of letting go, which of your daily afflictions would finally be destroyed? What heaviness are you carrying right now that's just waiting for you to surrender it? Take a breath, hold on to that thought, and let the architecture of this mantra sit with you today. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.